Hey Team Chester, this is John Crable. I wanted to reach out to you guys. Obviously the 31st being Wednesday this week, I will be out trick-or-treating with my kids and not eating or trying not to eat all of their candy. So I gave you guys the opportunity to either have me record this or bump it up. Well, I've heard at least from 2 people so far, and bumping it up to Tuesday probably is not feasible for your schedules. So I wanted to record this as soon as I could and then get it out to you so that you could make some sense of what I'm saying, and then also have a couple days ahead of time to get this stuff ready to go for round 5. So let's look at a couple things here. Last round we kind of talked about what we were going to do with a lot of excess inventory and how that was going to play into our decision making. Well, I think we found the path out of that, so what we'll do is we'll take a look at that and have that guide our conversation. So first of all, you can just really quickly and easily see we got rid of a ton of inventory from this past round. Our cash position is really, really strong, and we were able to either liquidate or just sell a whole lot of that. As we come down to cash flow, I mean, you can see, we didn't take any finance, which we haven't taken any finance for a long time. We haven't done any investments for a long time. And then as we look at it, that's going to be a big swing for us in terms of overall cash position. Now, as you look at the individual products, what do we really have here? Well, a contribution margin of 32.5. Okay, that's good, right? I mean, we're over that 30 mark. I definitely want to see that increase as much as we possibly can. And you can see with Cake, with Cedar, with Sid, all doing well over at a 30% mark. And then Coat and Cure doing pretty well, maybe a little bit under 30, but still hanging tough right there. But as you also see with this is we've had some downturn here, right? We had a really good year in 2020, and then it's kind of been chipping away as we've gone through. Now, that has to do with a couple of things. One, if we don't have as much product to sell as we have had in previous rounds, then that's definitely going to be a contributing factor. And when you look at return on sales, return on assets, return on equity, if we have lesser sales, we're just not going to get those bigger return numbers. Now, what I do want this next round is I do want these numbers to come way back up as we get back into production and get back into the full swing of operations. We look at a couple things here. Obviously, we know our return numbers are going to be smaller due to what our strategy was this past round. But that said, too, is we did pretty well with sales. I mean, yes, we're not really pushing for the number 1 or 2 positions in terms of sales, but for not having a lot of production, we were able to contribute still quite a bit to this process. And you can see your contribution margin was actually pretty good when compared to everybody else's. Let's look at a couple things here. And then this right here just shows us that, yes, we just did not produce a whole lot. We tried to get rid of that inventory that we had. So what does that really mean for us going forward? Well, as you look at Cake, that's the only area where we're carrying any excess inventory. And quite frankly, it's not that much. So I think we're in a pretty good position. Now, as we look at the rest of the numbers, we have no inventory left anymore. So we can have a good idea about what we should be doing with these products going forward. Now, we're making the assumption that they're positioned correctly, and we don't know that yet, but that's the plan going forward, that we should be able to produce and sell quite a bit. So, as you look at your capacity here, as you look at your capacity numbers here and on down, we're definitely going to want to see those over 100% on plant utilization. The only way we do that is that we start working our second shift and we start asking more production than what our first shift can do. So let's look at a couple products here, and we'll see what they give us. Hold on 1 second. Let's back that down 1. All right, so Cake had about 1,500 sales in this market, and quite frankly, it's positioned well, I believe. And I think what we could do is, if we wanted to increase that to 16, 18% market share, I think we could definitely do that. Ideal age is of 2. We're at a 139. We're looking at pricing of 18 to 28. We're doing well there. Performance and size. I think we'll make some adjustments to performance and size, and when we do that, the age will drop, and we'll have a better positioned product for traditional. Now, you also look at it, right? We have 12.5.22 here. I don't think we can go heavy on any of the changes that we make with this, right? I think maybe 7.3, 12.7, and then see where we stand in terms of R&D and how much it's going to cost us. Let's look at cedar here. And here's the thing, guys. You can see that our sales dropped way down when it came to cedar. And if you look up here at the perceptual map, you are in real danger of not selling any to the low market segment anymore. And let's look and see why that's going to be. So first of all, the price of 13 to 23, okay, that's fine. 19 is no problem. But your performance and your size of 2 and 17.9 is really starting to push the bounds of what customers are willing to purchase. So R&D has got to come in here and they got to make some changes, because if you don't, what's going to happen is you're not going to sell any next round. And think of that in terms of increasing production. Let's say that we produced, 2,800 units, and we did not accurately R&D this product. You're going to carry a whole bunch of more inventory, and then we're going to be in that same position that we were before. So I think when we look at this, we really have to say to ourselves, we got to make some changes. Because if we don't do that, we're going to be in real trouble here soon. Alright, let's look at the high criteria. We have Sid with 13% market share. Hold on one second for me. Alright. 12.575, we're at 11.86. Ideal age of 0, mean time before failure of 20 to 25, and price of 28 to 38. I think, again, everything looks pretty good, but we're coming to this issue again of, is it going to be positioned correctly? Now, you have an 11.8 and 11.5 in front of you, and so you have an 11. Again, you're not positioned badly. I mean, you're in the third position there. But I think what's going to happen is we're going to have to make, again, some smaller, more incremental changes. And I think if I'm going to suggest anything is, we're pretty spot on with size right now. Maybe we just look at increasing performance and see what happens for this market segment. I mean, you can see that your potential versus your actual sales, we're not meeting that potential. We want to find ways to get that back up. We want to find ways to drive that if we possibly can. Let's look at coat at 18%. Alright, again, mean time before failure is number 1, and we're doing just fine with that. Ideal position of 13.4 and 13.2. We're pretty good there. I mean, maybe we can make a couple small adjustments, but overall I think we're in good position. Price is good there, and ideal age is pretty good too. You can see in the December customer survey of 21, you guys are positioned well for coat going into this next round. So you have the best positioned product. Again, we have this issue of actual versus potential market share. So we're simply not producing enough and selling enough. So we want to look at that too. And lastly, let's go ahead and let's look at the size buying criteria. With Cure, we sold 644. Performance and size of 6.8 and 6.6. I think we're in 7.6. Yeah. Okay, let me think of myself real quick. I think the performance we're positioned pretty darn well. I think maybe this is just a size issue that we want to make sure we're delivering to them. Age of 1.5, we're at 1.41, positioned well. Mean time before failure, we're good there too. And then pricing, we're good at that one. If you look at the past 2 December customer surveys for size and for performance, I believe it was, you guys are positioned really well. Now it just comes down to making small incremental changes and ramping up your production. So if that means that you guys have to buy capacity this round, which maybe this would take it from, hold on one second, we can actually speak specifics. Hold on one second. So when I say buy capacity, these are the numbers that I'm talking about right here. The 1,800, the 1,400, the 9, the 6, and the 6. Does it make sense for you guys to look at some of these areas down here where you have a lot of potential growth and bump this 900 up to 1,100, and bump this 6 up to 8, and bump this 6 up to 8? Because at that point in time, your first shift could produce 800 units, and your second shift could produce 800 units. So we could ask ourselves the question of, if we're positioned well and we have the ability to sell, do we just run our second shift out to 1,200 units here, or could we buy a couple more hundred units, get those extra first shift sales, and then try and generate some more cash flow there as well? So I want you guys to look at that. But that's an investment question. And again, going back to your annual report and cash flow, we haven't seen a whole lot of money coming out of investment and being paid for with finance. The last thing that I'm going to just look to you guys is to look at your perceptual map, and again to see where you are positioned. So Coat, Sid, Cure, I think we're all in pretty good shape there. I think Cake is in pretty good shape, maybe a little bit of change. But this Cedar, we get a lot of money from Cedar, guys, and we need to make sure that that is moving closer towards speed. It does not have to beat it fast, but I think we need to aim for somewhere right around in here and see where that gets us. And potentially, that could be the last change that we make to this low market segment as well, because it doesn't move very fast. Alright guys, those are my suggestions for you that took about 11 or 12 minutes. I'm going to post this into Blackboard right when I have that ability to, when it gets uploaded to the server. If there's any questions that you have for me that you want me to discuss or speak specifically to, please, as always, reach out, and I will make sure you guys get that as soon as possible. Thanks, guys.